Hey guys, welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Gio and I'm here for a new AC Milan news live stream where I'll be speaking about the latest transfer news and rumors currently going on at the club. Still pretty much happy after yesterday's win against Torino, where we came back down from 1 goal at halftime with 2 goals in quick succession in a matter of a few minutes, with Kuchka and Bonaventura getting the goals there. It was a great result, which will pretty much make us move on to the quarterfinals of the Coppa Italia on January 25th against Juventus. But today we will be speaking about news, because yesterday there were some developments going on with our new sporting director Mirabelli and Fasone, and I'm going to be speaking a bit about what they're up to doing in these days, and also what they will be doing in the next coming weeks leading up to the summer transfer window. Also wanted to give a bit of my thoughts on Sciglio and his current situation with the reports about him moving or possibly moving to Juventus and all of those rumors. And finally, I will say some final words on Deulofeu. So let's get started on Sciglio, because like I said before, there were reports of Sciglio possibly moving to Juventus yesterday. Currently not an option for the winter transfer window, but something to look maybe forward to for Juventus in the summer transfer window. Now, there were reports yesterday coming from Sky saying that his agents, Sciglio's agents, were actually visiting Juventus at their headquarters to, start negotiations for the player. And there were several reports and sources saying that there was an agreement between the player and Juventus. There was an agreement found, but they were still yet to find an agreement with Milan over the transfer. Well, Galliani came out today and he said, "I have never spoken with Juventus concerning Sciglio. He hasn't renewed yet concerning his contract, but everyone knows the situation at the moment." When he means about the situation, the current situation at the moment, he's obviously speaking about the Chinese takeover. As we all know by now, a lot of the decisions in the transfer market, whether it's signings or contract renewals, are pretty much based on the hands of the Chinese. It's all going through them, and they have the final say of what they want to see at Milan for the future. So until that financial takeover takes place, which at least let's hope and pray every day that it does take place in March, a lot of players and the renewals still won't officially be announced. And one of these players is exactly Sciglio. And when Galliani says, he hasn't renewed yet, but it's normal, he's talking about that specific situation, that before anything could actually happen, the Chinese need to take over the club. On another note, Sciglio still is under contract until 2018, so that is until next season. So there's still plenty of time to talk about a possible contract renewal. It's not like his contract is expiring just right away this season. But, it's still something to think about, whether Sciglio will be a player for the future, if the Milan board is planning to keep him for the future or not, or if they're willing to give him up to Juventus. My thoughts is that, Sciglio is obviously not the player that many people were hoping to be a few years ago. He was maybe a bit better, more promising back then. Some reports were actually saying that Sciglio was the worst player for Milan in yesterday's fixture against Torino. And even though I think he didn't really contribute anything positively to Milan's performance yesterday, he still had a decent job. He still did a decent job playing defensively. His real, weakness is moving forward. He's really a shy type of player when moving forward. He doesn't really bring much attacking options to the team. And as a winger, Antonelli definitely is a better option when it comes to that specific position for Milan. He's capable of moving forward, providing attacking options, and really helping the attack whenever they need some extra support from the wingbacks. So, I'm not quite sure what to say about Sciglio and the future at Milan. I think he still has something in him. I think he can still showcase, his talent. And, I'm not quite sure if he's going to get enough playing time from now on until I don't know, at the end of the season or maybe next season. Personally, I would prefer Antonelli starting over him in games, but this is all up to Montella. If he leaves, many people will probably ask me if he leaves, would you be mad about the whole situation? Probably not, because I've seen what Deschio's capable of. Yes, he had a very good Euro last season in the summer under Antonio Conte. But after that, he came back to his old self. So I don't know if it's just his personality or he just can't cope with the pressure at Milan. I'm not quite sure what it is. But personally, I wouldn't be too mad if he got sold to another team. Sure, Juventus is a direct rival. But see, if you were talking about either Bonaventura or Suso moving to Juventus, then I would be mad. Then I would be pretty pissed off. But I don't think it's a major loss for Milan if they do end up getting rid of him. But we'll see what happens in the next few months. Once again, this is a deal that Juventus is looking to close in the summer, not in the winter. So once again, we'll see what happens with all of that. Now, moving on, I wanted to speak about Fassone and Mirabelli because, like I stated, they're looking for potential targets to join Milan. Players that could potentially join Milan in the summer. And they're currently doing a little transfer market tour. And what the reports mean by this is that they're going to different countries and taking a look at their potential stars, their potential signings that could really appear for Milan maybe next season. So yesterday, Fassone and Mirabelli did head to Germany. They went to check out some players, and the players that they're currently considering is Christopher Kramer from Mönchengladbach, and also Sebastian Rudi. The player is currently playing for Hoffenheim, and Rudi is a very promising player, 26 years of age. I have to say that the names that we've been linked to recently have been wingers, but it seems that at the moment Fassone and Mirabelli are also looking to add in a defensive midfielder or a central midfielder for that purpose. And it comes to question because Locatelli, yes, he's good enough, but will he be the future of the club? Meaning, will he be getting a starting position every game from now on until the end of his time at Milan? Possibly not. I think they're currently looking for an even more experienced option in the middle of the park. And if they do get that experienced option, a better option altogether for that central midfielder role, chances are that Montolivo might leave because I just wouldn't see his purpose at the club, to be honest with you. Maybe he's going to stay, but he's definitely not going to be getting any starting games. He's going to be left on the bench if one of these players come in, that's for sure. I just don't see these high names, coming to Milan and just staying on the bench. So the players that we're currently interested in, at least this is what the latest reports are saying, considering Fassone and Mirabelli's tour, is Sebastian Rudi, like I said, from Hoffenheim. He's 26 years of age, so not too young, not too old. But he does get a lot of assists, and he's a very good midfielder. I think I would like to see him at Milan, that's for sure. But I've been reading reports saying that apparently he might join Bayern Munich in the summer. So not quite sure why Fassone and Mirabelli are still looking at him. Obviously, there's nothing official just yet from what I know regarding Rudi to Bayern Munich, but there is very high probability that he might join Bayern Munich. But like I said, he's an interesting player, and I would definitely like to see him at Milan. Much like Kramer, another German that plays in the Bundesliga. He plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach, and he's 25 years old, so slightly younger than the player I was speaking before, Rudi. Slightly younger, but he has a lengthy contract until 2021. So I think Milan will have to pay a pretty big sum if they want to get him. He doesn't get as many assists in the Bundesliga. He has made a lot of appearances this season, but by looking at his statistics, he hasn't really proven to be lethal, at least for the moment. He hasn't really had a high number of assists or anything like that. But still, he's an interesting player. I believe he's a World Cup winner with Germany, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely winners like that with a winning mentality is exactly what we need at the club. Now, these are two of the players that Fassone and Mirabelli are currently looking at in Germany. There's also another player that I wanted to speak about. He comes from Nice. And this guy is Coziello. He's 21 years old, if I'm not mistaken. He plays for Nice, like I stated before. And apparently Milan is interested in signing him. There's also another interest coming from Inter, and it might be a derby between the two Milan clubs for this player next season. But he is 21 years old, so relatively young, obviously a bit older than Locatelli, but I haven't seen much from this guy, to be honest with you guys. But once again, from his stats, as his stats suggest, he hasn't been getting that much playing time at Nice. They've been doing very good in their league, but he has scored only one goal in all his appearances so far this season. If you guys have any other notes on this guy or any resources that I may use to speak about this guy, let me know. Let me know what you guys think if you know this guy more than me. I'm curious to know, because he also, I believe he's playing for the France U21 national team. He's been playing for France at their national level for a few age groups. So, you know, he has to be a decent player if he's playing for all his international teams there. So another interesting option is, like I said, Coziello from Nice. And really, Fassone and Mirabelli are focusing on the midfield. A lot of people have been saying in recent times, what about the midfield? Why are we always being linked with wingers and never anyone in the midfield, the department that we need to enforce the most? Well, chances are that we won't be enforcing that department anytime in this winter transfer window. Like I said at the beginning of the transfer window, I wasn't really expecting any real signing or an expensive signing or someone to get the fans excited about. This is what I'm expecting for the summer transfer window. And, you know, it's nice to know that the sporting director, the new sporting director, and Fassone, they're starting to look around already. They're starting to make their wish list, along with names from the Serie A, like I've been stating for a few weeks now, Bernardeschi, Keita, and so forth. So it's nice that they have a nice list going for them, and if we could get maybe 2 to 3 players out of that list, personally, I'll be more than happy, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys will be happy with that as well. Now, I wanted to speak finally about Deulofeu. Unfortunately, there are still no updates from Everton concerning the player. Montella did say that he knows the player pretty well, but he doesn't want to speak about him as he's not part of the team. And when Galliani was asked about the player, he did say that there's still no updates coming from Everton. And if he arrives, it's good that he arrives. But if he doesn't, we will stay as we are. This is the classic line from Galliani. You would always hear that classic line in every transfer window. We are fine as we are. We are fine as we are. I freaking hate that line. Anyways, speaking about Deulofeu, still nothing going on for them. Everton have signed Schneiderlin, so I'm expecting maybe them to give up Deulofeu in the next coming days. Di Marzio from Sky did say that, you know, Milan is still very close to him. They're still pushing hard to get him. And in the end, he might arrive, he might not arrive. We simply don't know. But I think if in the next 7 to 10 days, nothing really happens in terms of updates concerning this player, then I don't think he will be coming in this winter transfer window anymore. Unfortunately, we won't have to be, or we won't be able to make any signings. So that's pretty much the news I wanted to speak about today. Like I said, lots of new players to speak about. I spoke about Rudi Kramer from the Bundesliga, as well as a player from Nice, Coziello. So lots of players to speak about today. If you guys have any insight on these players or have any other notes concerning these players that you want to speak about to me, let me know in the comment section, as I'll be reading your comments for the next few minutes. So let's get right into it and see what you guys have to say today. Jeffrey, he says, Coziello fits into a process and style at Milan. he says he watches Nice quite a lot, and he said that he's gonna fit in. Cosello would be a good player to fit in at Milan. Mohammed says the Nice player, never heard of him, but he's rated 79 on FIFA, better than Yak. I just love when people base their perceptions on players based on FIFA ratings. I just love it. Aniket says, Gio, I don't think Milan should sell Sciglio. His contract is expiring and we can't get much money for him. We lose an academy graduate for cheap. I mean, it's a very good thing that you said there. Yes, his contract is expiring, and I think that we will be giving him a contract renewal. My real worry for Sciglio is that in the future he won't be a real piece of the team. I believe that going on forward, he hasn't really improved. If you look at him from what we saw him 2 years ago, okay, yes, he has improved in some attributes. Maybe he's better defensively, but still his mentality and how he plays, his character, really, he lacks character, I find, Sciglio. And, you know, he's going to get older as the time goes by, and simply I don't see him as a setting stone for Montella. I don't see this guy being the player that he will recall on in 2 years' time when we possibly get better players. So, yes, he might remain. His contract is expiring. We might renew his contract. But my prediction for Sciglio is that in the future, even though he does remain at Milan, I don't think he's going to be the player that you know, Montella or any other coach that would possibly be at Milan will end up counting on, because chances are we will be getting better players, and you know, Sciglio simply won't do it enough to get or earn a starting position every week at Milan. Like, if you already look at the team right now, personally, I would start Antonelli every game. If I was Montella, I would start Antonelli every game. The guy does very well defensively, and his attacking contribution is way better than Sciglio. So, I still don't understand why Montella has these hesitations when choosing between both of them. But, you know, moving on forward, I think that Antonelli will, if it's not Antonelli, then it's going to be a new signing coming in. But what I'm trying to say is that, personally, I think that Sciglio will lose his spot, and that he won't be a starter in the future. Hey Pasquale, how you doing, man? He says, my opinion with Sciglio is that we don't want to lose Sciglio, especially to Juve. What he doesn't do for the team in terms of attack, he makes up for mentality and stability at the back. I completely agree with you. Like I said before, he is stable in the back. He does a good defensive job. But when you get a guy like Antonelli that can do both defense and attacking jobs very well, you know, I don't think it's a big question whether you would choose either Sciglio or Antonelli to start in the games. Ruskin says, is Milan still interested in Depay? I get this question quite a lot, and right now there are no concrete reports with Depay. There's nothing really going on with him. There have been reports concerning a link to Milan for the player, but all these reports are absolutely rubbish and bullshit, and that is why I don't mention anything concerning Depay. Carlos Chuibaga says, I've heard quite some good news from the Nice youngster. If Milan could acquire him, it would be a great move for the long term. I agree as well. Mr. Rabinho says, what about an exchange Sciglio with Rugani and buy Barreca from Torino? I don't think Juventus is that stupid to exchange Rugani, their future at the center backs, for Sciglio. I don't think they're that stupid, to be honest with you. Barreca, I haven't seen much from him. All I know is that he got sent off yesterday. But besides that, we'll see what happens. Karim says, in your opinion, why would Juve go for him if they know he's mediocre for us? That is once again a very good question, and personally I don't have the answer to that, but you know, maybe that's another thing. If Sciglio goes to Juventus, he is not going to be getting a starting position, even with a 3-5-2 system. He's been playing better as a midfielder. When we saw him in Italy with the Azzurri in the Euro in that 3-5-2 formation, he was playing as a left midfielder, wide midfielder. But you know, that's the formation that Juventus play with, but still, I don't see him getting a starting spot at Juventus if he does go there. He's going to be running on the bench, so maybe Juventus is not even the best solution for that player. Aniket also says, Gio, if you remember, we were close to making an offer for Coziello in the past few transfer windows where he was available for 10 million. Now he costs double that. I actually don't remember anything regarding Coziello. Maybe you guys could refresh my memory, but I really don't remember us being linked with him. I know we've been linked with 50, 60 players in the past few seasons, and that is why I can't keep anyone on top of my head. But definitely now, you know, I do imagine that his value was even more than it was because he's been playing more, he's been getting a lot of minutes. Maybe not what he's hoping for at Nice, but he's getting a lot of playing time for a 21-year-old. And, you know, he's played 679 minutes according to Transfer Market in the Ligue 1 for Nice. And a lot of games he's been playing the full 90 minutes. And then in some other games he's just played, maybe just came on in the dying moments of the game. Asukuo68 says, Mathieu Deschillo is too safe and sometimes he looks so fragile with the ball. Moving on, Milan Bush says Deschillos are one club player, just like Costa Curta and Maldini. Abdi doesn't agree. He says Mathieu Deschillo has the worst crossing ever. Marcello says, man, Deschillo was the chosen one. He was supposed to be hitting his prime by now. He definitely fell short, and it's so unfortunate for Milan. Like he said there, you know, Deschillo's not the youngest of players anymore. He was supposed to hit his prime. He was supposed to do better, but he's 24 years of age already, guys. And, you know, a lot of players are doing better than him, and they're younger than him, you know. So personally, I don't see a very bright future for Deschillo if he does stay at Milan. We'll see what happens, though. Electrical Drift says, hey, Gio, what are the shitty sources and the reliable sources? The shitty sources are most sites that you would see, like The Sun, the Daily Mail, sites like that from England, Tutto Sport, also from Italy. Absolutely rubbish reports, always there to sell the newspapers. The most reliable ones are really Sky, Sky Italia, Gazzetta. Those are the really best ones. Sometimes even Corriere dello Sport gets some things right, but I would stay away from all the other ones that I mentioned to you. Asukuo says, Joe, what do you think of Rodrigo Eli? He looked very promising, especially while Sinisa was in charge. I remember at the start of last season, Rodrigo Eli was getting a lot of playing time and he was really being considered by Mihajlovic. I was hoping to see more from him, but you know, now that we have guys like Paletta, Romagnoli, and even Gustavo Gomez playing there at the center back position, Rodrigo Eli has fallen short in that depth chart for the center backs, and I guess he's like a fourth, fifth option now. I don't even know if he's ahead of Zapata at this moment. But Rodrigo Eli, I think he will certainly leave this winter. He needs to get playing time, and he simply hasn't seen any playing time whatsoever this season so far. And it's unfortunate for him because I think he could be a promising player, not just for Milan, but for whoever team he plays with. He could be a promising player, but I don't think he falls into Montela's plans, at least for this season. Carl Ibn says, MilanNews.it. Yes, that's another very reliable source. Check them out. They always provide very good things. How much transfer budget do I expect for the summer? 150 million will sort out all the problems. Who amongst Bernardeschi and Berardi do you prefer? Specifically, I don't know how much transfer budget we're going to have. I don't know how much funds we're going to have. I think that's all going to be clear later on this year. I think it's way too early to talk about transfer budget. If I had to choose between Bernardeschi and Berardi, I would probably go with Bernardeschi. A lot of people would say Berardi, but I just love Bernardeschi. I think the guy is just the future of Italy. He's one of the best players in Italy at his age, and you know, Personally, I would prefer Bernardeschi joining. He's a strong winger. He's capable of doing very good things. At the same time, you know, you kind of have to decide who to play between Sousa and Bernardeschi if he arrives. But, you know, that's when you have better options like that, when you have options to see who could start games, and you have so much depth like that to have two very good players in one position, that's when you know the problems are not really there anymore. When you have Bernardeschi and Suso, your options for the right wing, and you have the freedom of the choice between those two, you don't really care who plays as long as they both get maybe equal playing time and they deliver the results. Cheyun Birinci, hope I pronounced that right. He says, I wish Niang was more reliable mentally. He has great skills and physique to play as our central striker instead of Baka. We shouldn't judge the player as a winger because he's actually not. And you know, someone actually mentioned it to me yesterday. What do you think about Niang possibly playing as a striker instead of either Baka or Lapadula? And I said, I remember a few seasons ago, I don't know if it was last year or the season before that, Niang was actually playing as a striker for a few games, and that's where he was getting his goals. Now, I'm not quite sure if Montella is willing to sit out Baka or Lapadula to favor Niang in that position. But at the moment, you know, I don't think Montella is giving Niang much confidence. I'm sure that he is. What I mean by that is that if he has the choice of starting other players over him, I'm pretty sure he's going to go with that approach instead. But definitely that could be a solution for him. Whether Montella will be using him or not in that position is all up to him. As a winger, though, he really hasn't impressed. He hasn't shown anything at all besides those first few games in the season. And, you know, I'm pretty happy that Bonaventura, when he takes his place, he's able to really show what a real winger is supposed to do in that position. Is Milan still interested in Borini, says Ruskin. No, there's no interest in Borini. At the beginning of January, I did mention that Milan is interested in Borini, and maybe they still are. But like the agent said a few weeks ago, there have been no negotiations at all with Borini and Milan. And also Roma was another player, was another team that was going after Borini. Ruskin also says, is Arsenal going for Niang? There were reports linking Arsenal with Niang, and there's also been reports with Niang possibly going to West Ham. But Milan apparently don't want to sell him. I don't know if they're going to want to sell him maybe in the summer. Before the winter transfer window, many reports, and even Milan TV, a very reliable source, if you guys want to add it to your list of sources, stated that Niang is not for sale and he shouldn't be leaving this winter. Maybe one or two more questions before I leave. Sirakilla says Sciglio had the potential to be one of the best left backs in the world. He was nicknamed the next Maldini. Sad to see this guy not living up to his potential. What do you think? Well, I pretty much spoke about Sciglio all video round, but the thing that you said there, the next Maldini, that's what everyone was calling him at the beginning. You know, the guy was doing good, but I never overhyped the player. I never did. If you guys go look at past videos of like 2 years ago, I know many of you probably won't go look at that, but if you guys go look at videos of 2 years ago, even maybe longer than that, I never really hyped the guy at all. I said that he's doing a good job, but you know, I don't see in him what I saw in Donnarumma, for example. I never saw, you know, that spark coming out of Sciglio that said this guy is going to be the next Maldini. Many people were saying that. I don't know why, to be honest, but you know, I never really called him the next Maldini. Is Baka playing the next game, says Nash. I'm pretty sure that he will be playing. I remember looking at the probable starting 11 for the game on Monday against Torino, which will be played, by the way, at the Stadio Olimpico in Torino. But I'm just going to check that up for you right away. And yes, Baka is expected to be starting that game. He's expected to get to start in that game for sure. I don't think it was a big question. I think Montella was always going to choose Lapadula to play in the Coppa Italia match against Torino and Baka to play in the Serie A match against Torino again. Finally, Gomez is getting better each week. I expect a great future for him at Milan. He started the winning goal yesterday. He really did. He really did start that winning goal. I liked his approach. He did a lot better in that second half. I think that he won a lot of tackles. He won challenges. He was sure of himself. That's what I like from Gustavo Gomez. And I think he's a very good, reliable option to have as a center back in case Paletta or Romagnoli cannot make it for a specific game. Speaking of which, we still don't know if Romagnoli is going to be ready for Monday's game. And we might be seeing Gustavo Gomez again paired up with Romagnoli. With Paletta, my bad. So that's gonna wrap it up for today, guys. I'm sorry if I couldn't answer all the questions. There's always way too many questions and I cannot answer all of you. But thank you guys for joining me in the live stream today. Thank you guys for subscribing and staying updated with everything going on at AC Milan on a daily basis. If you guys haven't yet subscribed to the channel and you're interested in keeping up with the team on a daily basis, this is the fan channel for AC Milan fans on YouTube. We do just exactly that for you guys. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, if you haven't yet, please leave a like on the video. It always helps the video out. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow for another video. This has been Gio signing off from Rossoneri TV. And as always, Forza Milan!